Conflict. You love it, you hate it. You explode into it, you avoid it at all costs. But most of us do not know how to utilize conflict as a tool for personal and relational growth. And today I will share with you what I've learned about the concept of conflict. Hi, my name is Dr. Assael Romanelli, and this is The Potential State. And today we're in Ownership 31, Conflict as a Tool for Personal and Relational Growth. So life is full of conflict. Not everything will happen our way. Every single relationship is doomed sooner or later to hit a T-junction. You cannot agree to disagree. That is what David Schnarch calls the crucible. So conflict is unavoidable, but most of us grew up with this core belief, refer back to the core belief episode, that conflict is bad, that conflict is deadly, that conflict makes relationships end, that conflict is the end. And then we either avoid it or we explode into it. And this is what my friend Professor Jay Rothman talks about. There is no conflict resolution. There's just conflict management, because conflict cannot be resolved. And if it would, what would be the meaning of it? Life is one big conflict of what I want versus what the world wants. So Hedy and Yumi, who are two couple therapy teachers, they talk about thunderstorms and turtles. Thunderstorms, people that explode into conflict, versus turtles that avoid conflict. And most people are either this or that. And we learn this from our families of origin, and it also is connected to our temperament and our gender, of course. And we'll usually find ourselves in relationships with somebody from the opposite style. Thunderstorms will usually end up with turtles. So thunderstorms, they just want to be met. They're like, rah, everything's out. But a lot of times they just want to be met. They want to meet an energy, be heard, express it, and move on. Versus turtles, that they just stick their head inside the shell and they're just waiting for the heat to pass so they can calmly discuss this. Both of these strategies, okay, are incomplete, because we need both. We need the ability to kind of regulate ourselves a little bit and calm down. And we also need an ability to express it. And usually what's happening is we're not meeting each other, because the thunderstorm go rah, and then the turtles hide. They stonewall and they go into their shell, and then they just don't meet. And the thunderstorms go louder and louder, and the turtle storm is protecting themselves more and more, and they never meet. And the name of the game is to stay in the crucible and hold on to yourself. Go within the conflict. And there's another concept which is really relevant here, and this comes from the world of relational psychotherapy, which is ruptures and repairs. Psychotherapy research has shown that the best treatment, the best relationships are full of ruptures and repairs, moments of conflict, of dissonance, and then repairing them. And it's the rupture and repair, that endless cycle that deepens relationships, that strengthens them, that increases the fittedness between couples. And if you think another idea, like the Gottmans, they've found out in their research, is that 70% of your problems are insolvable with whoever you're going to end up with. So it's not about solving the problem, it's about maintaining, being able to play and stand and be in communication about these basically eternal problems, eternal conflicts. So I've been doing a stage about conflict, being married to Galit, who's an amazing woman, and she's a big thunderstorm. In the beginning, I grew up in a house of turtles. We don't talk about conflict. Everything was analyzed, was kind of regulated, put under the table, was kind of intellectualized. And she grew up in a family of thunderstorms where everything was on the table. In the beginning, we'd judge each other. I'd judge her as being unregulated, and she judged me as being repressed. And then we'd never talk. In the last decade, she has taught me how to come out of my shell and make a stand against the thunderstorm. Be there against them, but in the sense of ezel kenegdam, as we say in Hebrew, is like being a force that's pushing them. And Galit, over the years, has also learned to kind of turtle herself up a little bit, and we found a nice balance. But that's been a lot of work. And being a turtle, I've realized that my job is to constantly be in conflict, right? Being parents, you're always in conflict with your kids. Most of the time, they want more chocolate. You're saying no. There's kind of a conflict all the time. Being a therapist is being in constant conflict. The couples are in conflict. They're in conflict with me. So I've had to really learn to stay in crucibles, create them, stay, not shy away, not go back into my shell. And I want to give an example. Just a couple of weeks ago, I was actually teaching a workshop, and one of the women there was very insulted by one of the things I did, and she shared it in the closing circle, and I was going to come to her later, but I saw that she already left. She left early. And if this was a few years ago, I'd shy away from, well, she left, so we don't have to talk about that. We don't have to air it out. But there's a part of me that says, I want to go into that conflict. I want to see what's on the other side, because conflict will help me grow. It'll first of all deepen this relationship, and also will give my unconscious this message that I am strong enough, that I have agency. Now, this was a top-down process, because she went and I took a few seconds to think, and then I just ran out to the parking lot. I literally ran to catch her. And I ran, and she was already in her car, and I said, do you mind stepping out? And we stayed there. We both stayed in that heat and that uncomfortable rupture. And I let things land, and she let things land, and I took ownership over what I did, and I stayed there. And we both breathed into it, and that moment softened up. In the end, we gave each other a hug, and we both thanked each other for this moment. But that took many, many years to practice, to realize that conflict is an opportunity for growth, and it shouldn't be avoided. So now, how to do this? First of all, share this episode with your partner, and then reflect, what are your core beliefs about conflict? What did you learn from your family of origin? How did they see conflicts? How were they initiated? How were they maintained? And how did they resolve? Were they resolved? Were they managed? Was it okay to be angry? Was it okay to be in conflict? And then think to yourself, am I willing to soften those core beliefs? And then when you recognize yourself being activated, starting to get triggered, refer back to the trauma mindset episode. Just hold on to yourself. Start broadcasting live. That's another episode. Verbalize what you're feeling. Say it. Just be present. Just speak in present tense. Just share what's happening. Which will also, as we said before, you'll be naming it to tame it. When you verbalize your feelings, you're slowly getting a little bit of control over them, getting a little bit regulated over them. Stay in the heat. Avoid the holy trinity of blocking. Don't get surprised. Don't get insulted. Don't get disappointed. Stay there. Stay close. If I'm going back to that parking lot, she really grilled me on points that I did, and I wasn't okay there. And I just allowed myself to stay and feel it. Feel the conflict. Feel the heat. Feel the dissonance. It was like a burning sensation. I wanted to get up and run, but I just stayed there. Try not to act out or to be hostile to your parent, to your partner. Okay, so I'm in the conflict, I might be in trauma mindset, but try not to act it out. Just realize this is juicy, this is life, this is the crucible of relationships. I'm staying in here, I'm working on the muscle of staying in the heat. They might not be used to it, the other person, your partner, they might, run away, jab you, whatever. They might actually test you to see if you're really there. Stay there, maintain play. By speaking, broadcasting live, you're adding a little bit of playfulness. And then also practice owning your shit inside the conflict. Don't project. Don't just keep saying you. Let things land. Accept influence. And if you do this over and over again, you are going to be practicing two different skills that are really important in raising differentiation. One is grounded responding, the ability to stay grounded. And the other one is the ability to self-soothe, calm mind, quiet heart. Or quiet mind, calm hearts. And over time, what you're going to realize is that you're going to develop what Schnarch calls meaningful endurance. That realizing that all these conflicts are going to help me grow, are going to become a natural rhythm of my life, of my relationships. I will stop being surprised or disappointed. I'll stop avoiding them. They will just be part of any interaction, a rupture and a repair. So start managing your conflicts and grow. My name is Dr. Assael Romanelli, and this was The Potential State. I'll see you next time.